I have an older cousin whose son, my nephew, is in his early 20s. My nephew is autistic and holds a part-time job, but is significantly delayed in many developmental areas. I don't know the specifics and will never be independent according to his parents. Recently, my cousin and cousin-in-law have been thinking about relocating to our state because of recent job opportunities, and we've hosted them in the past when they visited. The first time they stayed with us, before my son was born, my nephew seemed to develop a strong attachment to my wife and always wanted to be near her. He drew a picture of a heart and picked some flowers from our yard and gave them to her before they left, saying he loved her. My wife thought this was sweet and gently handled his crush by telling him she would always love him as his aunt, but she was sure he would find another girl to fill his heart soon. He told her no, she was his girlfriend. This weekend, they were staying with us again, and my nephew again wanted to be near my wife every chance he got. His mom and dad noticed and told him that because my wife now had to care for our son, she couldn't pay attention to him as much as before. He got upset telling us that she was his girlfriend and had a meltdown, which caused my son to start crying. When my wife got up to take our son to another room to calm him down, my nephew got up to follow, and his dad had to forcibly restrain him from following them. I stood up to block the hallway into the separate room just in case he got away from his dad. Once they calmed him down, they apologized for his behavior and said they would keep better tabs on him. Here's the part where I may be the idiot. I told my cousins I didn't feel comfortable with my nephew being so possessive of my wife, and I know for sure she didn't, especially since he seemed to be so jealous of our son. I told them I couldn't allow their son in our home until he learned to control himself and understand that my wife was not his girlfriend. I apologized but asked them to get a hotel room for the rest of their stay and not to visit us again unless they left my nephew behind with people they could trust and knew would care for him while they searched for jobs in our state. They didn't say anything but looked sad and then went to the guest room with their son to pack up their bags. I guess they must have told my extended family what happened because my paternal grandmother called me this afternoon telling me that I should have been more understanding and that I was wrong to ask them to leave. Am I the idiot? No idiots here. Just a sad situation. The nephew cannot comprehend, the cousins are trying their best, but protecting wife and baby need to be top priority for OP. If there is even a hint that physicality will be needed to ensure that, then OP is not the idiot for setting the boundaries he did. Can you imagine the guilt OP would feel if something really bad happened? If the nephew hurt the son or wife because of jealousy and not comprehending? Or if the nephew gets hurt if OP needs to interfere to protect his family? I hope it all works out in the end and you and your cousins can remain close somehow. Not the idiot, it would be no idiots here, except for the fact they're telling people you kicked them out and your extended family isn't being understanding. You 100% owed it to your wife to ask them to leave. You weren't being a jerk about it. You understand that he lacks the full capability to understand his actions. But that is why the situation could become dangerous. The wife should not be on edge in her own home, made to feel as though she needs to be polite, while a fully grown adult is restrained because she isn't acting like his girlfriend. You would be the idiot if you hadn't asked them to leave. No idiots here. It's your home. That's your wife and your child whom you've made vows to protect. It's your call on who is in your home. It's not your cousin's fault that his son has formed a strong attachment to your wife. It's also not his fault, just the way his mind works. It sounds like cousin did everything a parent in this awkward situation should do in speaking with, explaining to, and restraining his son. Maybe check in with your cousin and ask how he is while letting him know that you're sorry, that you've had to make the decision you have made, but be firm in that decision. My husband and I have been married for 3 years now. I have a daughter, 15, and he has a son, 24. I am friendly with my stepson, but we aren't close. He has a biological mother who is a perfectly fine woman. I'm not here to take the role of his mom. My late husband, my daughter's father, died when my daughter was 6. We both contributed to her college fund. My daughter's paternal grandparents have also contributed a large amount. Right now, the fund has about $180,000. My daughter is extremely bright, and I'm not just saying that because I'm her mom. I truly believe she has the capacity to go to an Ivy League school, and her teachers have said she has the potential as well, and I don't want costs to hold her back. Our income would be too high to get any meaningful financial aid, and while there are a few merit-based scholarships out there that she will be applying to, we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket and hope she gets it when it's so competitive. My current husband and I have separate finances. He doesn't contribute at all to my daughter's fund. My stepson is struggling with medicine addiction and has stolen money, jewelry, heirlooms, and electronics from us for medicine money. I understand that addiction is a disease, and I personally paid for an outpatient detox for him, which cost $1,000, which failed. His father then paid for an outpatient rehab program, which cost $6,500, which also didn't work because he barely showed up. He promised us he'd do better next time, and he needed another chance, so I split the cost of another $6,500 outpatient rehab program with my husband, which seemed to work during the program, but he relapsed as soon as he got out of it. I have spent so much money, time, and energy, and it hasn't helped at all. My husband and my stepson want to try a 60-day inpatient rehab program, which will cost $30,000. I had absolutely no idea where they were supposed to get the money for that, considering the thousands and thousands of dollars that were already spent and the fact that we no longer had anything of value in our house. They want to use my daughter's college fund, which to me is absolutely off limits. I feel like it's completely unfair to my daughter to punish her for my stepson's addiction, unfair to my late husband and his parents, but frankly, I don't think spending $30,000 will work. My husband thinks I'm an idiot because I'm prioritizing my daughter's education over his son's life, and he believes medical needs come first. He then asked my daughter if she'd be willing to use $30,000 from her fund to pay for her stepbrother's rehab, and she got very quiet and did not answer. He then got very upset with her and said she was being selfish. My daughter later told me that she didn't want to give her stepbrother the money, but she felt so guilty, and I am furious at my husband for emotionally guilt-tripping my daughter like that. This is not a question that should ever have been asked of your daughter, and I hope that you didn't give permission for your husband to ask. Your daughter is 15. She is too young to make a decision about a large sum of money. She should never have been put in that position, and your husband is absolutely an idiot for asking and for telling a child that she is selfish for not sacrificing a lot of money to pay for his son's issues. Not the idiot. Protect your daughter. So let me get this straight, you live in a house neither of you own rent-free, and you contribute 65% to the bills. Your daughter's trust fund is from her father, you, and grandparents, who also happen to own the house, and your husband thinks he has any right to say anything about her financials. You are the idiot for putting your daughter in such a bad position. I hope her grandparents take her away, and the house, because you are clearly letting your husband stomp all over her boundaries. Slightly the idiot for allowing your husband to guilt-trip your 15-year-old child. What happens to your daughter if your stepson overdoses and dies now? She'll likely feel guilty the rest of her life for something that is entirely out of her control. She might need a great deal of therapy to get over that. She won't understand that it isn't her fault. You need to shut this down now and tell your daughter that you are making the decision not to use her college fund and that she has no say in the matter. My parents divorced 10 years ago. My father initiated it. He was seeing someone else and wanted to see if the grass was greener on the other side. I neither am for nor against his reasoning, but I was against how he treated my mother after they finalized their separation. One key event that stands out is in deliberating how assets, or rather, debt, was divided. My father promised my mother that he'd still around, still be in her life, even be friends, and see if they could rekindle their marriage, but only if my mother took every penny of debt. My mother was naive to agree to it, because once the divorce was finalized, my father was on a plane in a matter of days, off to live his new life. It should be obvious that none of us were happy with my father, and I've been in no contact the entire time. My mother passed 3 weeks ago. She is survived by my 2 siblings, and I was in charge of the funeral. I knew some of my cousins on my mother's side blamed my mother for their divorce and actively stayed in touch with my father. Imagine that, my mother's family took my father's side in all of this. I also knew there would be a non-zero chance my father would show up, and if he did, it would not be to pay his respects. So I hired security for the funeral and church service. Long story short, my father and his new wife showed up. They were barred entry. One of my aunts got very upset and caused a scene and let slip her daughter, my cousin, invited him. So I had security escort my cousin out of the funeral too. This event has caused a rift between families, or at least, embiggened the one already there. A few of my aunts and a lot of my cousin think I went overboard, some even removing me from Facebook. Was I the idiot in this situation? For what it's worth, I was not super close to those who were ejected from the funeral, nor the ones who caused a fuss. I can live a happy life having zero contact with them again, so I've lost nothing. I'm still no contact with my father, who flew out for the funeral. Not the idiot. The funeral wasn't for your dad, it was for your mom. It was wise of you to hire security to keep it under control, and overall an idiot move of your dad to even show up. Sometimes I think people feel like they need to show to funerals, when they really just don't. Showing up to someone's funeral doesn't somehow correct the crappy way you treated them when they were alive. I'm so sorry for your loss, and the family drama that has ensued. You did the right thing. You are the idiot for having absolutely no tact. This is a funeral, it's not about you, it's about all of your mother's family and friends being able to mourn and say goodbye. You took the focus off of your mother and put it on this struggle between you and your father. In the process, you ended up looking like an idiot and reaffirming your father's place as a victim and not reaffirming that he is an aggressor. You really couldn't have played this any worse, it's like you're trying to make yourself look bad. Everyone's the idiot here. The funeral is to say goodbye to your mother. The funeral was not an opportunity for you to take out your feelings on those you feel had wronged your mother, rightly or wrongly. I doubt your mother would have wanted that. You made this all about you, caused a huge dramatic scene, and interrupted everyone's mourning. Your father screws because of his leaving your mother, and his alleged lies about finances are rekindling, though I am 100% believe there is a lot more to that story than you have related. So, I got into Cornell last week. Honestly, I think it was a fluke. I'm not smart at all. I got a 28 ACT, a decent grade point average, because my school grade inflates considerably. I had some decent extracurriculars, but nothing remotely competitive enough to get me to a school like Cornell. But anyways, my twin sister is the opposite of me. She's a genius, she has way more impressive stats, 34 ACT, and she only took it once, compared to my 3 times, she has way better grades, way cooler extracurriculars. Everyone always looked up to her as the smart one. I didn't and still don't mind, it's true. The only reason I can fathom I got in and she didn't is that she applied to the engineering college while I applied to arts and sciences. I don't know if too many of you guys are familiar with Cornell, but they have a bunch of different colleges you can apply to, each with their different admission criteria. Well, last week, decisions for Ivies came out. Unfortunately for my sister, she didn't get into a single one, including her first choice, Cornell. She checked as soon as it was available and called me bawling. I consoled her and told her everything was going to be okay, that who cares what school you go to, that she was brilliant and was going to be successful no matter where she goes. Well, anyway, I pretty much resolved that I was getting rejected, so I didn't even bother to look at my email until later that night. Well, I guess surprises do happen sometimes, because I'm a Cornellian. I got in. I just don't know how, but I did. I really want to go, guys. But this would devastate my sister. All week she's been crying and solemn and sad. She's been angry at her friends who got into top schools, especially the ones with lower stats. She's decided to go to New York University, but she just hasn't been herself. I haven't told her parents, I think they assumed I didn't get in because she didn't. Am I being selfish? Should I just go with her to New York? We always thought we were going to school together, but it's Cornell. I couldn't in a million years imagine I'd get in. I've been researching obsessively about it, and I can't shake the desire that if I don't go, I'll regret it. Ithaca looks beautiful, it's a small town, which I would love to get away with from the huge city that is New York. It seems like a dream opportunity. Am I being a bad sister? I know she would be upset, we were supposed to go to school together. It would crush her. I really don't have anyone else to talk to. Am I the idiot for going to her dream school? Especially considering how much harder she's worked compared to me. No idiots here. As a twin, I understand it can be hard to separate from your sister and see her hurt. But ultimately, you have to make the best choices for yourself. You guys will still have each other and can still be close. Tell her. See how she reacts and see how she would feel. Ask for her permission. I want to be clear that you don't need her permission, but I'm assuming if you two are as close as my brother and I, it would be a nice gesture that she'd appreciate and she would give her blessing. Congrats on your acceptance. No idiots here. Except your parents. Yikes. Go to Cornell if you decide it's the best choice for you. New York Uni is a fantastic school. If your sister would have done great at Cornell, she'll do great at New York Uni too. College is largely what you make of it, and New York Uni will have tons of amazing opportunities for her. Just please don't make your decision out of guilt. Also, if your sister still wants to go to Cornell after a year somewhere else, she can apply to transfer. People transfer all the time. No idiots here, except your parents. I'm also a twin who was probably considered the slacker in me, and my brother both literally got into the same schools. I understand why it would be hard for you to choose. It sounds like your sister actually handled it very well, and after the initial sadness is very happy for you. Your parents though are way out of line in the way they are speaking to you, and I don't think it's unfair of you to be offended or hurt by it at all. I'm 22, a legal guardian of my 15-year-old brother. We're very close, and we have always been like that. He lives with me now obviously. He often gets really sad. We recently lost our parents, so I comfort him as best as I can. So, about my girlfriend, we have been together for 2 years. She doesn't live with me, she stays over really often though, so she has the house keys. 2 days ago, she came over without warning me. Me and my brother were asleep on couch, he wasn't wearing a shirt because it was hot, and he was laying on top of me. She woke us up and made a scene in front of him. She said that our relationship was weird and disgusting, and it's extremely concerning that he's so affectionate towards me. My brother was in tears and he even apologized to her. I brought him to his room and calmed him down. I went back to living room, she was sitting on couch, watching TV and acting like nothing happened. I told her to get the hell out. She got defensive again and said that she was just stating her opinion without hurting anyone. I grabbed her wrist and brought her to door. I didn't hurt her, she was following me, I didn't use any force. She left, she called me few times, but I didn't answer. Little info. This doesn't happen often, we were on couch, watching TV, and fell asleep. He laid on top of me after he fell asleep, he moves around a lot while sleeping. Not the idiot, also, break up with her. My husband took in his youngest brother after their family and church excommunicated with him, leaving him with nowhere to go. They essentially consider him dead. My husband is very close and protective of his brother, he lives with us, and honestly, I just consider him part of the package. He came first, you know. He's a kid, he was just sleeping on his big brother, and you did nothing wrong. She's extremely out of pocket to suggest anything lovable is happening with no proof. Not the idiot. Teenagers are children, and boys need hugs and holding just as much as girls. For him to fall asleep laying on you is no big deal, and it's weird that she thinks it is. Maybe she thinks that because your brother is, maybe. Just about fully grown, it's a case of two adult siblings being lovable in some way, but if so, why chill at the TV like everything is fine? My biggest problem is that she saw fit to walk into your home and berate your 15-year-old brother who is already having a tough time. That's what I see as a boundary problem. Not the idiot, your brother is still a child. And he's grieving. You're the only family he has left, and you've stepped up where he might otherwise be in foster care. You both likely need the comfort. I don't think anything inappropriate was going on. Siblings share beds all the time, sometimes even as adults if needs be. She reacted with jealousy and immaturity, and with complete disregard to your brother's well-being. Yours as well, given the stress you are likely under.